Folks, listen.
Welcome to another episode of D&M, bringing questions for you that we find interesting. We don't know until the other person says, and bring a mystery to the table for all the generations. Two people from two different backgrounds trying to make sound about the world around us. They both bringing light to the questions they ask. Dina and Michael sliding in your DMs with class. Hey, it's D&M. Hey, it's D&M. D&M. It's D&M. Hey, it's D&M.
Hello everybody and welcome back to episode 12 of Sliding with D&M. This week I have global and Dina has cultural, and I'm going to start us off this week. So if you haven't heard this past week, the world's supply chain basically was stagnated. So if you haven't heard, in the Suez Canal, which is a very narrow passage between how 12% of the world's goods get from Asia to Europe, right? So instead of going all the way around the continent of Africa from Europe, they use the Suez Canal to get from Asia to Europe.
Yeah, for sure.
So the Suez Canal is really narrow. I believe only one ship is allowed to pass at a time. So they don't even have two lanes of shipping. It's just one goes to Europe and then one comes from Europe. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So a ship called the Ever Given was going through from Asia to Europe, and allegedly, I guess there was high winds, and the entire ship turned and got lodged and literally blocked the entire canal.
Okay. Yep.
So this gigantic ship, which had, I think, 40,000 containers on it, some absurd number, right? Mm-hmm. So it's super heavy. The Suez Canal, Egypt owns the canal, and they take a lot of the profits from it. And I believe they were responsible for attempting to try to get this ship out. So if you haven't seen a lot of the memes and a lot of the pictures of this operation, basically there was a couple of these large construction tractors, right, that had the shovel attachments, and they were trying to basically dig this ship out of the sandbank.
Okay.
It's estimated that this lodge basically cost the world economy $400 million an hour, and this ship was lodged in the Suez Canal for, I believe, 6.5 days.
Okay.
So it cost us trillions and trillions of dollars as a world economy.
Yes.
So I study this in school. Supply chains is something that I study. And my question basically is how do we prevent something like this from happening again in the Suez Canal?
How do we prevent something like this?
Yeah, what can we do to put infrastructure in place so that something like this does not happen? Because in my mind, it's 2021. You know what I mean?
Okay.
We shouldn't have a huge ship that a gust of wind blew it and it literally messed up the entire world economy for a week, right? And has ramifications for months to come, because now all these ships are lined up on either side of the canal and they're still waiting their turn to get through.
Yeah, no, right? I totally agree. I mean, it is 2021. So we have to find other modes of transportation, because think about it. When these canals were initially built and moving and grooving, it was 1920s, 1930s. Think about the Panama Canal when they actually built that canal. And so we're still using kind of almost antiquated modes of transporting goods. And so although technology has evolved and things have evolved, how we transport goods hasn't evolved, you know? And we have to find a better way to help transport goods. I mean, and let's think about it. The things that are necessities these days weren't necessarily necessities 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. And I think the other thing that kind of comes into play is the demand in which we get it and how quick we get it. I mean, think about Amazon. Amazon started out, right? It was typical standard shipping. Now, you can get some things within an hour from Amazon, depending on, if you live in a bigger city, if you order something, they will have it to your door in an hour. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I know we pay for Amazon Prime, you know, and part of one of the perks for Amazon Prime is we get free 2-day shipping. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly like, if my kids say, hey, I need this thing, and I'm like, you're telling me this, you know, 2 days before you need it. Okay, Amazon, do,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So I think we just have to kind of develop, and I think it's going to take some research. It's going to take some work, like with anything, of how can we develop better modes of transportation than the ones that we're using. And that we don't have to rely on, you know, these small passageways. And I say small in the sense of, like you said, only one ship is crossing at a time. I mean, it takes
Mm-hmm.
hours to do the Panama Canal because you have the lock has to fill up, the other lock has to drop the water level, and then it goes to the next level. And then the same thing, and it goes. You have to go up, and then you have to come down. And so it takes time and resources. And you're right, when these things happen, I mean, $400 million a day, that is a
An
ton.
hour.
An hour?
An hour.
I thought you
Yeah.
said a day.
No, it's $400 million an hour. It cost us trillions of dollars over that 6.5 days.
That's even worse. That's
Mhm.
even worse. It's
Mhm.
$400 million an hour.
Obviously, that's an estimate, though. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way that they can accurately say, like, yes, that cost us exactly $400 million an hour. So I would assume it's anywhere from like $200 million to $600 million an hour.
But that's still a lot of money. That's
Oh, yeah.
insane. That's
Yeah.
insane. And now we're going to see the trickle down effect of that, because some of those goods, you know, there are some things that you can only get overseas that have to
Mhm.
come here. So now the price of those goods are going to be higher, which then affects those businesses because now they have to charge more to ship the things because globally it takes longer, or it's going to take more time. So it's
Yeah.
just kind of a trickle down effect that is affecting everyone. And then add on top of it, we're still kind of in the middle of a pandemic, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's already taking some time to get certain things and goods shipped, you know, because of the extra precautionary measures they have to take. So we definitely have to come up with better ways to get our goods to where they need to be. And I don't think it's necessarily a thing where we need to figure out how to do it more quickly. I think we're spoiled in that way. If that
Mhm.
sounds weird. Does that sound weird that we're spoiled in that way?
I mean, I feel like it's just the push over time. Everything is quicker and faster, right? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like everything is just sped up. Like buying a car used to take like a week, right?
Mhm.
Or so. Or buying a house, right?
Yeah.
But now you have these services like Carvana where
They
you can
deliver the
literally,
car to your door.
yeah, within like 3 days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
By the
So,
way, can I just say that car shopping is probably one of there are some people that love to buy new cars. It's probably one of my least favorite things to do. It really is. I'm serious. I know that sounds crazy, but it really is one of my least favorite things to do because you
Mhm.
have to go in and you in your mind know you have a set number, like you're looking
Yeah.
for something very
Mhm.
specific. And I am always one that I don't, excuse my language, bullshit with stuff like that.
Mhm.
So I am very much like, this is what I want. I need the car to do this. I need it to do X, Y, and Z. And I think the thing that sometimes annoys me when you car shop is that they're like, well, what about this? I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I
I
just
don't
need it
want
to
that.
do
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z. Like,
Mhm.
this is what I need. I don't need any extra bells and whistles. If it comes with the extra bells and whistles, great. But really, I just need it to do this. And you have a set number too. And so sometimes they feel like they try to get you to overbuy, and then it just takes forever. And I'm like, listen, I just want to sign the paperwork and roll out with the car.
Mhm.
Like, and so I must say that car shopping is like one of my least favorite things. And I have bought several cars and it annoys
I mean,
me.
I feel like it depends on the person. Some people I feel like love that whole process and
No.
like negotiating.
Who loves that
and stuff.
process? Like, that's like saying who loves giving childbirth. It's the same thing. They're like,
Some people do. Some people love pregnancy.
no,
Others
and I
don't.
don't. I'm not. Yes, I've had 3 kids, but I am one that does not like pregnancy. So I feel like
Mhm.
those two things for me equate as in just a miserable transaction. It's just not fun. But
Mhm.
anyway, but back to the original question. I think we do have to figure out more efficient ways, not quicker ways, but the hope is that if we figure out more efficient ways to transport our goods, that in turn will trickle down to being quicker, you
I
know?
mean, I think there's a couple things that really stand out in my mind is that um, when you look at issues like this, where a supply chain is essentially stagnated for a week, right?
Yes.
Um, they have to recoup the costs because all those ships that are stuck in in the waiting areas of the canal, they're still paying operating costs, right? These
Mm-hmm.
ships cost millions of dollars, right? So they still have to pay, you still have to pay the salaries, you still have to pay the fuel, you still have to pay food, right? They
Yes.
have all these operating costs that they're still paying. So in my mind, what the ramifications of this is that these goods are inherently going to become more expensive. And
Oh,
when goods
absolutely.
become more expensive for a certain period of time to recoup costs, they're not going to eventually drop back down,
Oh,
right?
no.
So these goods are going to become more expensive for forever now.
Yeah,
Um,
no, for sure. It's going to become more expensive. And that price, that more expensive price, is going to be placed on the consumer, who is
oh,
you and
100%.
I. And
Yeah.
even if the price does drop down, do you really think they're going to drop the price down? No, because people are so
No, because
used.
it's extra profit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because people are so used to paying the higher price. So why would we drop the
Yeah.
price down and lower it when you're
The,
already used to paying 50 cents more for your
mhm,
toilet paper? Like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's kind of one of those things where it's just, I hate to say it, but it's like a necessary evil, but you don't want it to happen.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that really stands out in my mind, which I think is probably one of the more scary options, is that I feel like a lot of countries, a lot of these bigger GDP countries, from this event are going to start going back to like an isolationism type of thing, right? So a lot of countries like France, like the UK,
Mm-hmm.
import a lot of the majority of their groceries for their population, right?
Yes.
The UK does not have enough land space to accommodate for their population. They have to import food from other countries. And it's cheap. It's so cheap to import food compared to growing it yourself in some of these colder countries, right?
Yes.
So the the issue with having something like this ever given incident or evergreen, whatever the company's called, is that you're really, these countries are starting to reevaluate their positioning within their imports and exports, right? So you have this incident where now goods are becoming more expensive. They're not guaranteed, right, to
Yes.
be there when they're saying they're going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So countries are going to start looking at this, especially the higher GDP producing ones are going to say, okay, well, maybe we should invest in our own infrastructure and try to move away from relying on other countries for the majority of our food imports, right?
Yeah.
So that causes issues too in like the geopolitical sphere, because you have all these countries who are now renegotiating these trades, and it just causes tensions, right?
Oh, of course. Of course. It's going
So
to cause tons of tensions because
so
everybody wants the best bang for their buck, right? That's
yeah.
just how people operate and what they do, you know. I
Hmm.
mean, case in point today. So today, my middle son needed shoes. Okay, there's a little bit of a backstory and I'll kind of go into it. So he is a runner. He's a runner. He's a good runner. He's very good. He's great at what he does. So, however, the way that he plants his foot when he runs, every time, it does not matter what shoe it is. And we have tried several shoe brands. So I'm open to options if you know. On the right side, near the pinky toe, he constantly blows out his shoes. Case in point, we bought him 2 pairs of running shoes. Exact same shoe style. He liked both of them. So typically when he likes a shoe, and especially in running, I buy 2 pairs because I'm like, who knows if this shoe is going to be around when you need another pair. And if this is what you like and this is what's working for you, we're going to buy 2.
Hmm.
He wore the 1 pair like 3 times, blew out the side. So he had the second pair, wore that pair like I don't know, 2 or 3 times, blew out the side. Same exact spot, same identical spot. So today we go to DSW. Okay. We go shopping at the shoe store and we're there. And he was looking for shoes and we did find shoes. But me, like, I'm like, okay, I want the best bang for my buck. I was like, hey, these shoes online are cheaper than what you have in the store. And so the lady says to me, oh, well, we price match. If it's from our website and it's cheaper online, we will price match for you. So I saved $10 on a pair of sneaker because, not that, I want him to have good shoes to run, but also know that I have 3 children, and yes, my oldest is 20, almost 21, but let's be clear, he's a broke college student. So he needs help and I will gladly buy him shoes if he says, hey, mom, I need some shoes. You know what I mean? So I still essentially am buying shoes for 3 pairs of kids. Now he does buy his own shoes. Just don't feel like I'm just giving him whatever, because no, he does pay for his own things. But I also know that, like I said, he's a young college student trying to make it, trying to go to school, working part-time. Like sometimes, pays for gas because he does commute to school. And so I get it. Like sometimes you just don't have the money to get the things that you need. And that's where I feel like me as a parent, I step in. So I still say, I still buy shoes. I still buy him the things that he needs. So when you have 3 kids and you're trying to buy shoes for 3 kids that do sports and do activities, it's not cheap. So, everybody wants to get the best value for their money. And that's what's going to happen here. They're going to all try to get, all these countries are going to start, like you said, renegotiating, trying to get the best bang for their buck. And it's going to ultimately be passed down to the people that are the everyday Joe Schmoes, you and me, out there buying what we need to buy, which is crappy. Like, it's crappy to think about that. And it's also, but that's just the way it is. I think we'll feel the effects more because, like we talked a little bit earlier, we are in the middle of a pandemic and things aren't good. Like, it's getting better, but they're still not great. So everybody's economies are still really struggling, but things are on the rebound. And then you add this in, it's like, okay, an extra layer of lettuce on your sandwich if you don't like lettuce. Like, it's just, there's no easy way to solve it. But I think the first thing is we just have to figure out better modes of transportation. There are better modes out there. We just haven't explored those options yet, and not necessarily to be more quicker or more quick, but to be more efficient. So that's kind of my take on your question.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's delve into that, because I think that shipping, as in like cargo ships, is one of the cheapest, right? Just because you can carry an enormous quantity, right? Like these container ships are gigantic, which is why they're so cheap to ship things even from Asia to North America. It's just so cheap because the quantity of goods they carry, right?
Yes. Okay.
So then after that, I would assume trains are probably the next cheapest option, just because they also carry a lot. And then airplanes and trucks are other options, right? So I recently watched this video, which was actually talking about alternative means to shipping because of this Suez Canal incident. And one of the things that the producer brought up was that this might launch a new race to figure out these new modes of transportation. And one of them may be airships. Okay. So, like the Hindenburg, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So they're saying that, and there is actually research into this. So the U.S. military actually did build their own airship, and it's able to carry a huge amount of weight, right?
Okay.
And it's fairly quick. The advantages to it is that you really only need a clearing to land somewhere, right?
Like a field? Are we talking like a field when you say clearing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like it can, so the problem with trucks, right, is they need roads to go somewhere. So if you're delivering in Alaska in the outback, right, you can't get everywhere on roads, right? That's why they have those little planes, right? And they land everywhere on those planes. With planes, again, you need landing strips. Most cases, especially with the larger planes, you need a landing strip, right? with trains, America's railway system sucks. So trains really only deliver to the geographical regions.
Yes.
And then from there on, they're put on trucks and shipped out more specific locations.
Mm-hmm.
And then with ships, you need ports, you need water. So landlocked nations don't have the ability to have stuff delivered by cargo ship, right?
Okay.
So the argument is that these airships that are able to carry so much weight and land in places where other modes of transportation can't get to you may start to slowly replace some of these more outdated and more expensive modes of transportation. However, it is going to initially be more expensive just because we haven't invested in that infrastructure yet. So how would you feel if you're driving around and you see these giant airships in the sky that are carrying all of our Amazon packages and stuff? Because to me, I feel like that's a little like weird. I feel like it's a little futuristic.
A little futuristic.
It's a little odd.
But I mean, it is a little weird to think about and a little futuristic. But I mean, think about the movie Back to the Future, number 2, the second one, right? Where he travels in the future. And the things that we thought were going to happen in the year like 2020 or 2021, the future, some of those things are here in a sense maybe, but some of them are not. So I think it's one of those things where once we see it happen and it's occurring and it's kind of a common occurrence and we see it all the time, it won't be so weird. But in the beginning, yes, it will probably feel weird to see these huge airships landing and just clearing the fields and then people running out to the field and getting our packages to like ship them wherever they need to go. And it is going to be expensive. I mean, think about anything that, has started up. Like before the railway system, it wasn't cheap to have the railway system in place. It takes money to build up the infrastructure. So I think I would be okay with it. It would be a little weird to see, but I think at the end of the day, though, if it proves to be over the long term a more efficient way to ship the goods, so that way we can save money overall in the long run over a period of time, I say, why not go for it? Why not make it happen? And the other thing, too, is you can do it. I mean, you could probably even put some of those clearings near airports. Do you know?
Oh, 100%.
Like, you could totally do them near airports and then figure out how to go from there. So I think there's a lot of possibilities in places to go. We just have to figure it out and get there.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that's super interesting. Like, I've never thought about airships as a possibility anymore, just because everybody knows of the Hindenburg exploding and how back in like the 50s and 60s airships were used as like basically like cruise ships, right? They were like these extravagant like luxury modes of transportation, and they were quick, right? Like they really were fast for the time, and they had all these amenities, right? But at the time, they were using helium to float them, and it's super flammable. So that's where a lot of their issues came from, and hydrogen as well.
They were like, yeah, let's use this. This sounds like a good idea. Not so much, friends. Not so much.
Yeah, it really was not a good idea. Now with like the modern technological advances, I feel like, I don't know, I just think it would be an interesting possibility.
I think it would be cool too. I wouldn't mind seeing airships in the air. I'd be all for it.
Yeah. Like the Goodyear blimp.
Yeah, I would totally be all for it.
you know how hype everybody gets when they see the Goodyear
I know,
blimp?
right? I still get hype when I see the Goodyear blimp. So it's totally cool.
All right. That was good. I enjoyed that. Thanks for indulging me in some supply chain talk. I enjoy it. I don't know if you enjoy supply chains. I think they're interesting.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it's good to talk about things like that because it affects the collective. So I think anything that affects the collective is always a good conversation. You know what I mean? Yeah. Is it my first choice of conversation? Probably not. But I'm always up for a good conversation. You know that. So.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to your question.
Okay. Are you ready for my question?
It's going to be a good one.
I know. I feel like this is a happy question. Like I just, just, I feel like we need some happiness and some joy, a little bit of joy. So, you know me, I'm totally artsy. I've said this a million times that I'm completely artsy. And I am in the midst of musical season right now. So I have a lot of different music that is running through my head. And just as a side note, when I'm in musical season, I tend to not listen to other musicals that I'm not working on because I don't want to kind of convolute my head. So I try to,
So for context, if I may,
yeah,
Dina choreographs a lot of our region's high school musicals. So she gets outsourced out by a lot of these schools and choreographs the kids' dances for those shows.
yes. So, but so what I try to do is I kind of try to compartmentalize like the music that I'm working on for musicals and then like my everyday like music that I like. And
Mm-hmm.
so I am, as you know, I'm a child of the 90s. And so I love my 90s music. So my question for you is, was there one album as you have been growing up, is there one album that has completely like flipped the script for you? Like you heard that album and you were like, yes. And when I say yes, like there are some albums where you can listen front to back to front, and just it never gets old. Like you could
Mm-hmm.
listen to it on repeat still to this day, or you hear a song come on from that album and you're like, yes, that is my jam, that is my
Mm-hmm.
song that got me through this or that. So what is that one album or songs, it doesn't have to be just an album, or maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
two albums, so I want to know like music wise. And now that you're older, okay, now that you're older, what is that album for you today, right now? So one from when you were younger and one from you when you were older.
Interesting. Um, I so from when I was younger, I would definitely say J. Cole's Forest Hills Drive.
Okay.
Just because I feel like that kind of opened my eyes up to the struggle that a lot of American people go through, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And it just really, I haven't really interacted with that sort of struggle before, where somebody's growing up in an environment where all their friends and all their neighbors are selling drugs, but they're trying to get out of that system, right? So that's what
Yeah.
that whole album is about. It's
Mm-hmm.
trying to get out and like set up a better life for yourself, basically. So that's something that really opened my eyes, just because I've never really interacted with something like that before.
Yeah.
I don't know. Today, I would definitely say Mark E. Basie's album. It's there's 4 songs on it. I'm blanking on what the name is called. Um, and one of my favorite songs on the album is Subway Car. The album is called Groovy People. It just came to me. My favorite song on the album is Subway Car. And my partner and I, actually, this is why this means a lot to me. My partner and I decided to buy tickets to go see him live last year in 2020 in February. So we were in Pittsburgh, where we go to school, and we decided to buy these concert tickets. By the way, they were super cheap. They were like $35, and for an extra like 25, I think, or maybe they were $25 and we paid an extra 25. So it was like $50 to $60 for the entire thing. We got like VIP passes and we got to meet him. And
Okay. That's
um,
awesome.
it was general admission, so we were the first ones in the building. It was in Gramercy Theater in New York,
Okay.
and we stood front row. And the just that whole experience of driving home on a Friday night after classes, and then Saturday morning going to New York to see the show Saturday night, right? And then driving back until like 2 in the morning back home, and then to Pittsburgh again the next day.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just a really fun experience. Like, I remember when we were at Gramercy Theater, the show ended and the train was leaving in like 20 minutes. So we booked it from Gramercy Theater to the train station to try to
Yeah.
make it back, right? Penn Station. So we literally ran like 10 blocks in like 10 minutes. It was kind of wild.
Yeah. No.
So the reason why I think that album means so much to me is because he ended on Subway Car, and that was really like the last normal moment of 2020 before all this crap went down.
Yeah.
Right. So to me, that was like the defining moment of like, oh, this is going to be like a great year. Right. And then a month later, it was like his second to last show. I think he only did an additional show in Boston and then canceled the rest of his shows.
Okay.
So I think that album really means a lot to me just because like it has that connection to it where like things were still okay back then compared to like what they are now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
What are yours? Mine was kind of deep. You took this happy question and I like made it into this. Like...
Okay. So, all right. So my first album from my childhood growing up is, and it's probably, if not the top album in my top 5 albums, it's like second or third. And when I say second or third, it's not like a distant second or third. It's like up there. So for me, my album was The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
I knew that was coming.
That album is like the most fantastic album. I can listen to it front to back, sideways, upside down, and there's not a song on there that just does not resonate with me. I remember when that album came out and I was like, yes, queen, do it, do it, do it. It also has a special meaning because there's a hidden track on there. And the hidden track on there is actually mine and my husband's wedding song.
Oh, how nice.
Yes. So
I didn't know. Of course, you would be the one that has like a 90s rap song as featured as your wedding song. That's funny.
I know, but but that album just alone, like every song on there just moves me in such a way. And I had never been moved that way by an album before. And I actually in 2019, the summer of 2019, I believe was the 20th anniversary tour of that album. And I got to see her in Philadelphia perform it at the Pier. My husband and I went, I got tickets, and it was the most fantastic thing ever. And to this day, I still listen to that album front to back, sideways, up, down. Like, there is not a song on that album that I don't love. And just each song has its own story, and you've got the upbeat songs, and yeah, just every song on there just is a feel good song for me. Today, if I were to, I kind of have 2 albums that I like today that I can listen to front to back, sideways, upside down, and still feel the same. The first one is Kendrick Lamar's Damn. That album, people, you need to listen to it. That's all I'm going to say. By the way, he won the Pulitzer Prize. So just the words and how he strings them together and what he says is just mind blowing. And side note, Michael and I saw him in concert. He came to where we lived, and every song it was amazing. That concert was amazing. And so that's one of those albums where he's spitting the truth. And I feel like he's kind of, by the way, my favorite rapper of all time is Tupac Shakur. So, but I feel like he's one of those that is spitting that truth and spitting that knowledge that everybody needs to hear, but not everybody wants to acknowledge quite yet is the truth, And so him, and then the other album to me, and I know she's a little more mainstream, and people are like, oh, you're just going to say it because she's more mainstream. But the other album that I can listen to front to back and back to front is Lizzo's album.
Really?
Yes, I totally can. And I think the reason why is because every song on there just is about owning your own truth and finding your own self. Like everybody knows like truth hurts, like why men great till they gotta be great. Like that's mainstream. Like, okay, great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But if you listen to the rest of the songs on that album, like there are there's just like Soulmate, Jerome, Crybaby. Oh, like Better in Color, like Boys, like every song on there, you're just like, what? Like Water Me, like every song on there just resonates with me. And I'm like, that is just curvy girl swag in all its perfection, literally in all its perfection. And you know me, I'm all about curvy girl swag. So own it, and she owns it. And there's not too many like celebrities that I follow on like TikTok or Instagram, but she is one of them because I just love that she owns her truth. So those are probably like my top, my Lauryn Hill is my top album that I listened to from back in the day. The two right now are Kendrick Lamar and Lizzo. And like I said, my favorite rapper of all time is Tupac Shakur. So anything from Tupac is just fantastically awesome. I mean, Dear Mama, like right there alone, like you're right. You're writing a song about your mom, and you're like, listen, I was a crack fiend, but like you are a queen. Like who writes lyrics like that? They don't write lyrics like that anymore. I'm not a big fan of the rappers today for the most part. I do listen to J. Cole, and we've gone to see J. Cole in concert together as well. I do,
but I think an important thing to note is that J. Cole really does appeal to like that kind of older style of rap where it's more like lyrical and storytelling rather than it's like about sipping lean and getting high. And I hate that. Like that I know you agree with me on that.
Yeah.
Like these new school rappers, I like Fetty Wap, Lil Baby, Lil Jon, Lil whoever. I just can't with them. I really
like,
can't.
I can't either. Like, I mean, I want to hear the story. I want to hear. And by the way, like there's nothing against the people that love the newer rappers that listen. Music taste is.
They're just not good. That's all.
You said they're just not good.
You have no taste if you like these new rappers.
I'm just gonna say that they're not for me. I prefer like rappers that are gonna tell a story and have their words mean something. Yeah. And I feel like with the newer rappers, sometimes like I don't know the story. I don't know, the meaning. They're talking about getting money and getting this and getting that, and which is fine. That's fine. That's what you want to do. But like, where's the meaning that you like inspire black boys and black girls to be better than what they are? Like,
and that's the thing, is that I feel like a lot of them, like for me personally, obviously I'm speaking from a point of like white privilege, is that I feel like a lot of them play into that stereotype. And that's what makes me upset is like, and you might feel similarly, is that 99% of these songs by all the Lils out there are about like sipping lean and doing coke and getting money and jewelry, right? So they're playing into this whole like rapper persona and this whole hood persona, and I feel like it gives black people like a bad name, you know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas if you listen to somebody like Kendrick, somebody like J. Cole, they're the ones who are talking about getting out of that environment and bettering yourself and trying to get into school and trying to do something with your life other than selling drugs, right?
So you brought that up, like, so case in point. So we went to see J. Cole in concert, and he did his one song, Neighbors. Do you remember this?
Yes.
And
the video.
He showed the video. Like, he lived in a respectable neighborhood. Like, nothing crazy, right?
It wasn't respectable. It was bougie.
Well, okay. I'm just saying respectable, like...
It was bougie.
It was nice. He lived in a nice neighborhood. He said, minding his business, and he has a recording studio at his house, obviously, because he records music. So, and in the video, and he showed the actual camera footage, And that's why the song is called Neighbors, because he says the neighbors think I sell him dope, right? And so he's trying to get himself out of that, like that mentality, that hood mentality, which he had.
Yeah.
And the neighbors thought he was selling dope because he would have people come over to the house to record, to make music or do whatever. So it's a lot of traffic coming in and out, right? So the neighbors called the police on him, and the police, the SWAT team came and knocked down the door. Didn't even like ring the doorbell and say, "Hey, what's up? Like, we heard there's a lot of traffic." And I Michael knows this. We saw the video. And so that's how the song Neighbors came about. And then he performed Neighbors. And like, so
But
you got to hear the backstory.
The whole thing about that and why it was so upsetting is that if you watch the video, and you can go on YouTube and look up this security camera footage, it's posted a lot of places now. The part that was upsetting is they brought up a full-blown like battering ram, and these people look like they were out of like Call of Duty, right? And that's the word that he uses. He's like, they looked like they were straight out of a video game, like some futuristic shit, right? And knocked down his door and then used his pool cues to move the cameras so you couldn't see what they're doing anymore.
Yeah.
So like that's the part that I feel like is upsetting to me. So like going back to like all these new school rappers, like what are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like they also like give Black people a bad name by hyping up this mentality and this stereotype?
Well, so this is how I look at the new school rappers. First things first, I'm like, listen, do you even, I mean, yes, now you have that luxury lifestyle that you're like rapping about, but 3 years ago, you know, you were selling CDs out of the back of your car, trying to be hood rich. You didn't have any of that. So you're hyping up something that you wish you always had, but you never really had. And you're trying to like get these kids to be like, oh, we got to get this, we got to get this, we got to get this. But it's not about that. Like, it's about bettering yourself, right? About getting out of the hood and doing better things. And I think that's why I like Kendrick Lamar and I like J. Cole, because, you know, and I say those names because they're probably on the newer spectrum, that they were about that. And then the other thing too is another one of my albums that I like is To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar, where he like blends like different genres. Like, who would have thought to like blend a little bit of jazz into a rap song to give you this new sound? Like, I mean, it's just thinking outside the box. I like people and I like artists that think outside the box and that, you know, tell their story and own their truth. I do like Biggie. I like Notorious B.I.G. However, my favorite is Tupac Shakur. Like that man to me, but both of them left us way too soon. But the things that they gave us were such great tools and great stories. You know, and Tupac was hood. He told you when he was hood, he was like, yo, I'm going to be hood. Right. And then he had those times where he was like, hey, like, I gotta give the inspiration to the people because they need to hear this. This is what they need to hear. And I think right now the newer rappers aren't really giving the things that we need to hear, you know? So, but I do, like, you know me, I have I call them my ratchet rappers because, like, inside there's a little bit of like ratchetiness in me inside, and so sometimes like I need that song. So I have started listening to Megan Thee Stallion. I really like her, actually. She's another one, like, rapper wise, that kind of owns it, and she's like, listen, this is who I am and this is what I'm doing, and she puts on that confident woman, you know. And so I do like her. I say all the time, I can't talk right now, I'm doing hot girl shiz. I say that. I say that all the time. Like, I'll say that to my daughter. She'll be like, what are you doing? I'll be like, I can't talk right now, I'm doing hot girl shiz. She's like, you're not doing nothing. And I'm like, damn. I know. I'm like, yes, I am. I'm doing hot girl shiz. And she's like, okay. So I do like Megan Thee Stallion. Like, but I'm totally a child of the 90s. Like, Nas, Nas Illmatic. Yes, love me some Nas. I know I can be what I want to be. That one. If I ruled the world. There's so many. Nas is like. There's so many good. Oh, and Jay-Z too. Like, not so much. I like newer Jay-Z, but like older Jay-Z when he first
Mhm.
give me.
I was never a fan of Jay-Z.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know. I just never really got into
Oh,
him.
see, I think maybe we need to expose you to the good stuff. The older Jay-Z stuff.
It's like for me, Jay-Z is a lot like Kanye. I feel like he really like started to play up this like businessman
Uh-huh.
persona of him, and I just feel like he's like very ingenuine now. Like I feel like Kanye is very ingenuine ever since he launched Yeezy, and he's like gone off the rocker. You know what I mean?
Did you say he went off the rocker?
He is. Tell me he's not nuts.
Okay, listen. Okay, everybody's gone through. He's just having a moment. It's okay. We all have moments. He's
Tina,
just having his moment a little more publicly than most. Let's
Tina.
just yes.
We can't. We're not even no.
He's like, we're not even gonna go there. But I do like old Kanye though. Old Kanye, like when he first came out and he was wearing those polo tees.
The only old Kanye song that I like is Stronger.
That's the only one?
Yeah.
What? Michael.
It's like a 2008 bop.
Michael. Oh my gosh.
Dina, he's nuts. Have you heard his new music? Do you remember that song that just had like the Whoop Diddy Scoop song? Do you remember that?
Okay, first of all, let's talk about some old Kanye quick. We have to address this because
we don't have a lot of time, so we gotta wrap this up.
I know we don't have a lot of time, but listen, old Kanye, like the College Dropout, that album right there, like there's so many good songs on it. Jesus Walks is like, God show me the way because the devil's trying to break me down. And then he's like, to the victims of welfare, yeah, we living in hell, yeah. Like, oh, you got to listen to Jesus Walks right there. Okay, hold on. I'm not done yet. Okay. The next one, Graduation. That's where Stronger's on. That's why you like Stronger. Okay.
Yeah.
That one's on there. Like Flashing Lights, Can't Tell Me Nothing, like Homecoming, like, okay, so there's that one. All right. And then, oh, wait, sorry. Late Registration was before Graduation. Late Registration, like they got Gold Digger, like there's Heard Him Say, Touch the Sky, like there's so many good. And then to my beautiful dark twisted fantasy, that one has Power and All the Lights. Like there's some good old Kanye. You just gotta search back. You just gotta search back. Now the newer stuff, not so much, but yes, like listen to his first like 4 or 5 albums, and you'll be like, okay, there's some decent stuff on here.
I don't know. I don't think I'll ever be a Kanye fan.
Don't discount him yet. Oh, poor Kanye. Yeah, I will say this though, his shoes are not. The
only ones that I like are the like the first edition Yeezys that are like reselling for like $2,500 now.
Yeah,
those look nice.
Yeah,
but his new ones, have you seen like his new shoes that look like Crocs?
I saw the new ones. My husband showed me. He's like, "Hey, look at these shoes," and I was like, "What are those?"
That's what I mean. Kanye thinks that he's like the next Gianni Versace, and really where he belongs is locked up in his mansion alone. Even Kim doesn't want to be with him anymore.
Oh, I know. He's just struggling right now. Like I said, he's just struggling a little more publicly. But anyway, so that was my question. That was my question about like music and like what you listen to today. And listen, for the most part, I like all types of music. I don't listen to country as much. I'm not, but I will occasionally dip my toe in the water when the occasion calls for it. However, I do draw the line on one type of music. And it's not really a genre, but I created my own genre. I call it teen bop. And when I say teen bop, I know this is going to ruffle some feathers out there. So just be prepared. I am not really a Taylor Swift fan. I know her newer stuff is much different than her older stuff. Don't get me wrong. I do know that. Like, she has come a long way and has evolved musically. It's just not my taste. I still feel like it's a little too teen bop for me. I don't do that. Yeah, I don't really do like Ariana Grande. Like, that's a little too teen bop for me. Like, it's borderline. Like, she's a little borderline. But yeah, that's a genre in itself. It's my own genre that I created, teen bop. But I'm not saying they're not fantastic artists, because they are, because they're doing their thing, which is awesome. It's just it doesn't appeal to me, right?
No, I'm not a huge fan of country. I don't like country.
You don't like country?
That's where I draw the line.
I think country has evolved too.
No.
Country music.
No.
Like, it's a little more mainstream.
Let's not even go there. No.
Really? No? You're like, no.
No. If it comes on, I will jump out of the car.
Really?
Yeah, I really do hate country that much. Oh,
okay, I don't necessarily hate country. It's just not something that I listen to, like, off the top. Like, it's, but I will dip my toe. If somebody's like, oh, listen to this country song. I'll be like, oh, okay, that's cute. Like, I will dip my toe in the water.
No.
But it's definitely, but you know me, I'm a child in the 90s. So you give me anything 90s bopping.
You like that hood music.
I do like that hood music. I'm a hood girl. Like, I am a hood girl. So if you didn't know that about me, I'm a hood girl with my music. So if you see me bopping along and the windows are up, guaranteed it's probably like Tupac and Biggie. And by the way, let me just be clear. I do listen to the edited version when my kids are in the car, especially when they were younger. However, me personally...
Not so much anymore.
Not so much anymore, but me personally, too, if I download songs from, different streaming sites, I typically download the unedited version, because I feel like that's how the artist wanted you to hear the song in its entirety, and that's how they created it, but I do understand that for, like, when you listen to things on the radio or you hear things, they have to edit it because they won't get any airplay and then they won't make any money. But I typically buy the unedited versions of songs. So it has all the glorious words, and when I say glorious words, you know what I mean, cuss words. And I'll be, and when I'm in the car by myself, I'll be cussing right along with them. So it is all good. Anyway, well, those were 2 great questions.
Yeah, it was fun. Kind of opposite sides of the spectrum. We talked about supply chains and then about music.
I know, but I feel like, we needed some happiness, because music makes everybody happy. So,
That is true.
But anyway, well, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you are enjoying our podcast and enjoying the things that we're discussing in the dialogues that we're having. Just know that we are having these dialogues just to kind of have an open discussion and discuss different thoughts and things. And if you have any suggestions or questions or any even recommendations of music or anything otherwise, please feel free to let us know. We're always open to those. My name is Dina McKell.
And I'm Michael Petuhoff.
And this is Slidin with D&M.
Thank you guys for listening. We hope to see you next week.